Our former president, George Herbert Walker Bush, is quoted as saying, "I do not like broccoli, and I haven't liked it since I was a little kid and my mother made me eat it. And I'm president of the United States, and I'm not going to eat any more broccoli." Well, kids still don't like broccoli, or cauliflower, or carrots usually, but that's what's going to be in our soup tonight. It's going to be another vegetable soup, broccoli, cauliflower, and carrot soup. So, since they're nutritious vegetables, I hope that you'll join us, and I hope if you're one of my students that you'll try to make this for your family sometime and surprise your mom and dad and make dinner for them, and I'll show you how to do it. Alright, because I think that our soup tonight with broccoli and cauliflower will be good enough to make us get out
The Soup Spoon!
Alright, so tonight for our broccoli, cauliflower, and carrot soup, we're going to start with our big soup pot, and I'm making an extra big batch of this soup because I have a large family to feed. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to get that to heating up. Make sure I've got the right burner. Yep. Olive oil. Alrighty. And to that, that all over the bottom of the pan. Let that kind of heat up. But what we're going to do is we're going to sweat or saute or whatever you call it. I've got about sweat. How do you know? Oh, one of my sous chefs informs me that it's sweat. I'm going to take about 4 cloves of garlic, 4 or 5, and I'm going to put those in our olive oil. Garlic is very tasty and aromatic. And now this doesn't look like it, but my gosh, that was 2 onions. I had to run to the store because we were out of onions, and I bought 2 onions, and that is 2 onions. Not sliced up, but diced up. Alright, so I'm going to add in the onions and the garlic, and we're going to cook this for about 3 or 4 minutes to get it nice and warmed up and translucent. Do you hear it? Hear that sizzle? Means we're doing something right. Alrighty, so I'm going to just kind of see if we can get some more sizzle here. Here it goes. Is there any better sound in the world? Onions and garlic sizzling and a little bit of oil on your stove. Alright, so we'll be back in just a few moments as we let this sweat up for about 4 minutes. Okay, so now we've sweat these onions and garlic, and they smell really good. They're very fragrant. By the way, I got this recipe from a website called Yumly, Y-U-M-L-Y, or maybe it's YUMMLY.com, because we had gotten a few bags of mixed vegetables, fresh vegetables, carrots, cauliflower, and broccoli a couple of weeks ago, and I wanted to make a soup with them before they went bad. Well, before I got around to making the soup, the vegetables started, to get old. They didn't go bad, but I felt like maybe we better freeze them. And they froze, but now you got to understand that freezing vegetables, if you just do it in your freezer, what's going to happen when they thaw out is they're going to get mushy. All right, I'm afraid that might be what's happening to these, but I'm hoping that it won't matter. We'll see. We shall see, won't we? But what I've got here is, now that the cauliflower and onions have cooked for about 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to add 2 cups of diced carrots. That's about 130 grams. I measured it out, actually. And some of them I diced up, and some of them I left whole, these baby carrots. And so I'm going to put those in there and cook those for about 4 or 5 minutes. Alright, no sweeten up now. Since mine are still a little bit frozen, they're going to probably cool things down. So I'm going to have to be careful here. But I'm going to go ahead and cook these for another about 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes, and then we'll be back and show you what that looks like. Alright, so the carrots and the onions and the garlic have been sitting here sweating together for about 5 minutes. And you hear my microwave going in the background, because if you'll remember our episode on bison broth, we took the leftover bison broth and we froze it in the freezer, and I'm just trying to thaw it, because one of our ingredients to this is, the recipe called for vegetable broth, but I thought beef broth, or in this case bison broth, would be good. Now it's still partially frozen, but I'm going to add about 12 cups of broth of your choice, let's see here. Yeah, see how that's frozen? So hopefully there's about 4 cups. Oh, there's about 4 more. Oh yeah, look at that. That's good. And as soon as the other one is ready, I'll get it out of the microwave. But we also are going to add to this, I'm going to turn up the heat a little, about 1.5 tablespoons of Italian herbs. You'll find that in your spice aisle. I doubt if you'll be as cool as me and have a Pokemon ramekin, but hey, there's what is that, a Goldeen, a Sea King, oh yeah, a Star Me and a Star You. So anyway, so all the cool Pokemon are on our little ramekin there, so I'm going to add those. Oh, our microwave went off, so I'm going to see if that, yeah, I think we can use that. Alright, so that's 12 cups of bison broth, or beef broth, or any kind you want. The recipe called for vegetable broth. I'm also going to add to that tomatoes. We need some diced tomatoes, and so I'm gonna we need about 30 ounces, so I'm gonna these are nice San Marzano style plum tomatoes. There. Say, those smell good, but I think, now that I think of it, it's supposed to be drained. So I guess I'm going to have to go drain these. So then we're going to add that to this. So we'll be back. I should have been reading the recipe. Okay. I've drained our tomatoes. We've got about 30 to 35 ounces of diced tomatoes here. Looks like I could have drained them a little better, but I hope that if you try to make dinner for your family, I hope that you'll follow my advice and clean up as you go instead of leaving a big mess for your mom and dad to clean up. You know, part of the goodness of having your kids make dinner is if they clean up for you too. So I hope you'll take care of that, consider that. And boy, this is looking like an Italian soup. Look at that. It's smelling good. Our broth has unfrozen here. So what we're also going to add, though, is we need to add some salt. We need to add in, I'm going to do some 3-finger or 2-finger pinches of kosher salt. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll tell you too, if you get a salt cellar like this one, it's kind of fun to feel that kosher salt in your hands. Now, kosher salt is coarser. It's more coarse than regular table salt, iodized salt. It's like flakes. It's like flakes of salt instead of little crystals. So that's a difference. I'm supposed to show you, I guess. No? Keep my hands still. Okay. That's easier said than done. But so, anyway, that's the deal with that. And you want a few grinds of some fresh black pepper in there. I'll make it small. I prefer the big grind personally, but I don't think anybody else in the family likes big grinds. Oh, you do? My sous chef does. Oh, by the way, I wanted to give a shout out to one of my subscribers, Honey, my subscriber Honey. Hope you're watching. Hope to see you. Maybe I could bring you some soup someday. But so anyway, big shout out to him. Also, shout out to one of my subscribers, Samir. He watches. He's been asking me to make some lasagna, so I told him I would get with Mrs. Wilkerson and see what she thinks about helping me do an episode on making lasagna. So, alright, well, we're gonna cook this stuff, bring it to a boil, and we're gonna let it simmer for about 5 minutes after that. So, since I've got some big chunks of ice in here that are excuse me, bison broth, it may take a little while. So I'm going to let you go, and we'll be back when this starts boiling. Alright, so this concoction has been simmering for about 5 minutes to let those flavors mingle. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add our broccoli. Let's see, about 700 grams, which is about 4 cups. Now again, this was frozen, not flash frozen like you get by at the store. So we're going to put this in here and just see what happens. It's been thawing and it doesn't feel too mushy, but it's still cold. I'm going to put in our broccoli and our cauliflower. What we're going to do is let that come back up to heat. It's like I just dumped a bunch of ice in it, so we're going to let it come back up to heat and simmer that for about 5 minutes. So, let's see. Yeah, if you're doing it with fresh, what you want to do is let it be, cook it for about 5 minutes and let it still be crunchy. You know, you want it to be soft yet crunchy, if that makes any sense. So let me crank up the heat a little bit again here. Bring that back up to a simmer, and we'll let it cook for about 5 minutes after that happens. I'll see you then. Alright, now This soup is almost finished cooking, but it's still kind of thin. If you would like to thicken your soup, if you would like it to, well, if you just prefer a thicker soup, oh, there's my timer for the simmering, so we got about 5 more minutes to go, so this is going to work out perfectly. So about 5 minutes before the end of cooking time, what you want to do is take a 1/4 cup of water and a tablespoon of cornstarch. Alright, now I've doubled that. I've got a 1/2 cup of water and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and I'm going to make what's called a slurry. Alright, now this has got to be cold water, because if you add this to hot water, it's just going to turn into a big nasty glob. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create this slurry and add that to the soup. All right, and what's going to happen is that as the starch molecules in the cornstarch start to heat up and absorb water, and they'll expand, and that will thicken the soup. And cornstarch is pretty tasteless, as is water, so you can also do this with flour, but I do that more with gravy, not so much soups. So, alright, so what I'm going to do in here, I've made myself, it looks like milk, but it's really just cornstarch and water. And I'm going to add that into our soup to thicken it just a little bit. Let the camera get over here. Alright. Now it doesn't look like it's done anything here, but as it heats, I want to add that 5 minutes. As it heats, that cornstarch, the starch in there is going to just boing, and it's going to thicken, it's going to expand, and we're going to have a thicker soup. Not a lot thicker, because I didn't use a whole lot, but alright, so we'll be back to taste this in about 5 minutes. Alright, well, there's the timer. Alright, well, oh, my beautiful Pyrex timer. Soup should be ready. We'll see. I'm always kind of scared. Oh, this, I have to say, smells a lot better than I thought it would. All these yucky vegetables in it. Things that kids probably don't like, but heck, I like these things. So, alright, I'm going to dish some up and give it a try. So, I'll be back with you in a moment. Alright, well, I've got out my soup spoon and my soup crock. Got my broccoli cauliflower soup here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a little more salt, I think, a pinch of salt. I'm going to add the grinds of pepper. And also, I'm going to put in just a tad of parsley, freshly chopped, and some shredded Parmesan cheese, since this is kind of an Italian type soup. Let's see how this is. Alright, kind of scared, but here goes. Try a piece of that broccoli first. The cheese is melting. And really, I've never really cared for Italian smelling soups, tomato based soups, but this one really smells pretty good. It smells kind of like the Olive Garden or something. It smells pretty good. say, I just wasn't too sure how this was going to turn out. Trying to cut a piece of cauliflower. I guess I can just eat the whole thing. You know, those vegetables that were frozen, they're still a little crunchy. So I think it's about the way it's supposed to, and that parsley adds not really a kick like it has in some of my other soups, but it just kind of helps the flavor somehow. That's good. Get some French bread or Italian bread from your local store, and I think you got a pretty good, pretty easy, fairly economical meal for your family here. Try some of these carrots. They've still got some crunch. Wow, and that broth. Some bread? What? Bread? Are you gonna make dunk it or something? The cornstarch, I think, thickened a little bit, about like it should have, because it's not thick like a chowder, like a clam chowder type of thing, but it's a man, a living life. That is pretty good. So I hope that watching your teacher, oh, look at that cheese. Mamma mia. I hope that I've inspired you to help out your family, or moms and dads. I hope if you're watching this that I've inspired you to try something new that maybe your kids will like. They probably won't like the idea of it, but this is really flavorful and good. The cheese, I think this shredded Parmesan really adds a lot. Well, just the whole thing. I guess that's the way the soup is. You just, all these flavors combine and they come together and create this dish that is just super tasty. You know, Beethoven said that only the pure of heart can make a good soup. So maybe I'm pure of heart. So I hope that I've inspired you to get out
The Soup